There's a fire in my soul, in my soul. And every time it burns, that's when I know where to go, where to go, where I am to go.
Well, hello. Thank you for joining me again for another episode of Behind the Senior Lens, where I, Lori Wood Habiger of Center State Seniors, interviews a different senior portrait photographer around the country. I hope you're enjoying these interviews as much as I have loved doing them. I just love to talk to other senior portrait photographers. Many of us, we don't have coworkers. We do our own thing all by ourselves. We wear all the hats. We do all the things. And so we don't often get to talk to other senior portrait photographers in depth. And if you're like me, I really want to know about other photographers doing what I do and why they do it and what their style is and all those things. So I thought you might enjoy it too. And that is why I'm doing this podcast. Today, I am talking to Jamie Cutshaver, and she is in Ohio, and her business is Jamie Lynette Photography. So let's welcome Jamie. So welcome, Jamie. I'm so glad that you're here to talk with me today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
You're
Maybe a
welcome.
tiny bit nervous.
Which is so funny. I mean, I forget that people would be nervous because it's just, very low key. And I forget that other people might actually listen at some point.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
All 50 of them out there.
I listen to yours. I love seeing, I love seeing what you're doing. It's super interesting. And I love seeing other industry, like, people in the photography world that, we're just everyday, like photographers.
Yes. So I really wanted to just talk what I call normal people like you and me. We're not out there on the workshop circuit and we're not selling mentorships. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it changes the conversation. And so I don't know about you, but when I edit, I like to just listen to photography things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was looking for a podcast where photographers were just interviewed about their work and what they do. And I couldn't find anything. Senior photographers. And so I'm like, dang it, I want to listen to something like that. And I'm like, wait, I could do that. I have a degree in journalism. I've interviewed people professionally before. And so I just did it. But now it's really hard every week to try to track down people to be on a podcast. So if you're out there, everyone, and you're listening, please message me if you want to chat. You don't have to be a rock star in the industry. You just need to be a person out there doing what we do, out working with the kids and the heat and the bugs and everything, and just experiencing this career. So, okay, back to Jamie. So Jamie, tell me about where you live.
So I live in a very rural town. It's called Apple Creek, and a lot of people are like, "Where is that?" So most commonly,
can you tell me your state again? I think I said
I'm in Ohio, so it's Apple Creek, Ohio, and I actually live in. I mean, it's tiny, so there's a lot of ex-Amish and a lot of ex-Mennonite.
Yes.
Or they've left the Amish and they've went Mennonite, but it's a very tight-knit community. So I will say I really love it for that aspect, but a lot of farmers, a lot of very strict people. And so it's just a very small community. So while I loved raising my kids here, I don't market to my own area.
Interesting.
Just for my business and myself, I market about 45 minutes away to like Canton, North Canton, Ohio area.
So. Interesting. See, this is why I like to talk to everyone. This is very interesting. So you market 45 minutes away. When you get a senior from these areas that you market to, do you go to their town and photograph, or do they like to come to Is it Apple Creek?
Well, actually, I will tell you, it is Apple Creek. I will tell you, my closest town that has like stoplights, unlike my town that don't, It's called Worcester. It's like
Okay.
Wooster, and there is a college, a very like kind of nice elite college. So it is a really nice town, but it's interesting because these kids that are coming to me from further away, they want to photograph in Worcester, and that's fine by me because my hair and makeup girl, she's in Worcester. So we'll meet at the salon, and then another thing is a lot of girls lately, which I will talk about that in a minute with the photos, but there's a place called Bloom Hill, which is in Uniontown, and it's like 50 minutes from Worcester. A lot of my kiddos are wanting to go that way. So
Is that like
sometimes
a flower farm?
it is a flower farm. And so then we'll go to a state park that's close to that to kind of finish up that field look, if that's what someone would want. But we can get into that a little bit more in a minute.
I actually was going to ask you about that. One of your pictures, I think, is in a flower farm field.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That would be Bloom Hill. Yes.
So even Worcester?
Yeah, Worcester.
Worcester. Oh, I can't pronounce anything today. Worcester, you said it has some stoplights. So I am from rural Kansas. I live in Kansas City now, but I totally understand what you're talking about. And my hometown, which we lived on a farm outside of that, but it has like 6 streets going one way and 4 the other. So I totally
Okay. Yep.
yeah. But Worcester, I assume, have one high school there. To give people an idea of the size of Worcester, how many kids do you think are in that high school?
Oh man, I should have go. I actually graduated from Worcester myself.
You did?
My husband attended the school here that our children ended up going to, and it's called Waynedale.
Oh.
We just got a brand new school, so it is amazing. And it's stunning.
How
But
big is
Worcester,
Waynedale?
what was that?
How big is Waynedale High School?
I think for my kids, their graduating classes were like they're pretty much right around like high 90s to like
Okay.
100, 125.
Yeah.
And because we have such a rural district, before we just started in the new school, there were like, I think 6 elementaries scattered around, which also the Amish kids will sometimes attend. So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting
It's funny
dynamic.
because my hometown had Amish community right near us as well. And in high school, on the trip from the farm to where my high school was, we would always have to pass like 5 carriages or buggies and
Oh yeah.
a couple tractors, and got
Yeah.
really adept at that.
When I have my sales sessions, I have in my email, I'm like, be careful traveling with the Amish buggies if you come back roads,
Yes.
because they'll come down from like Canton area or over.
Wow.
I'm terrible at directions, but anyway.
And it can be dangerous, especially for a kid who's not used to it, because you
Right.
go over like a rise where you
Mhm.
haven't been able to see very far, and there could be something right there going 15 miles per hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So Worcester, back to that, it says right around like 30,000 people. So
okay.
it's a nice sized town. We have almost everything.
Yeah.
Except for a Target. We have a lot of things, but we haven't got a Target yet.
So let me guess. Well, now this is Midwest. I don't know what I consider Ohio Eastern. What do you guys say?
I don't know. Like I'm in Northeast Ohio, I guess. But
So,
yeah, I think it's an Eastern state.
In around here, small towns of the 30,000 size would have a Walmart.
Yep.
It used to be Pizza Hut, but Pizza Hut doesn't have very many stores anymore.
We do have a Pizza Hut. Worcester has a ton of stuff. Worcester's really, really nice town.
Sonic. Do you have Sonics?
We don't have a Sonic yet.
Man. Okay.
That's in Canton.
Okay.
If I would go to Canton, sometimes I will spoil myself and get a little, I think it's outside of Canton, but I will get myself a cherry limeade when I'm near a Sonic.
Yes.
So I love cherry limeade.
So did you grew up then in the area since you went to Worcester to high school, and your husband went to
little town Waynedale.
Yes. Now, where did you guys meet?
Actually, we met at a little tiny little bar dance club in Worcester.
Cute. How cute.
Yeah. It's funny because he was there with friends, and I was there with friends, and really wasn't gonna meet anyone there in a bar. And so he asked for my phone number, and I was like, yeah, I don't give my phone number out. So maybe if you're here next time, kind of thing. But we ended up talking a lot through the night, and I did give my phone number to him. I figured out he was a really nice guy, and
Yeah.
we have been married 26 years
Oh my
in
God.
June coming.
Yeah, so that was definitely before cell phones for sure.
I know, right? You're like writing your number on a piece of paper.
So I saw on your Facebook that not only do you have children, but you have grandchildren.
Do actually. I just kept them. They came Friday night to stay. Well, today is Sunday for reference, but last night they called their parents to check in, and I just said we'll be coming home soon, and they cried. They didn't want to go home, so they got to stay a second
Oh
night.
my gosh, that's
But they hadn't
precious.
got to stay in a while because they had been passing around some sickness. So,
Yeah.
and then I traveled in January to Phoenix, and then I had just traveled to Panama City recently. So, I
Grandma's
do have,
traveling. Do they
yeah, a
call
little
you
bit.
grandma? Do
I love, what was that?
they call you grandma?
They do. My daughter-in-law was trying to get them to call me Glamma for
Oh
a
yeah.
while, like, because I'm like a
Yes.
glamorous grandma,
Yes.
but they do call me Grandma. Um, but they're sweet. So my oldest granddaughter is Jayla, she's 6, and Riley, she's going to be 4 in about 3 weeks, I think. So in April here, well, maybe it's more like a month. It'll be about 4 weeks. She'll be 4. So
That's so exciting. I'm jealous. I keep telling the
oh,
kids, mine are 26 and 21, and I'm like, can somebody please give me a
yeah.
grandchild?
Well, my oldest Jordan, those are his kids. He's 30. And then
Okay.
we have Jenna, who turned 24 in February. And then we have Jaron, he's our Christmas baby. He's 22. So
Okay.
they'll keep us hopping a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
thankful for that and thankful for family time.
How long have you been a photographer? Paying, like a professional that you get paid?
I started in 2013. I had to think
Okay.
about it before this. I was like, I know she's going to ask me.
Yes.
So I think I applied and got my LLC in 2013.
Okay.
So became legit business in 2013. Now, as far as people paying, just like everybody else, I
Yeah.
think might have been like
Oh.
$25 or $50, but
What brought you to photography?
okay. So I was excited about this because I actually had my aunt send me a photo earlier, and I asked her when this happened, and we couldn't remember, but I was probably like 10. And for reference, I don't mind, but I was born in 77, so we can
Okay.
figure some math out. My aunt Angie was actually in photography in high school. And so she used to use my cousin and I as little models all the time. And we used to grumble, like, do I really have to do
As
that?
kids do, yes.
Right, as kids do, exactly. So I was like, do I have to do this? Right. I think I was probably more willing than like my brother and my cousin. Um, but one night my aunt drug us out in the backyard and she said, hey, I want to try something really cool, but you have to hold still. And it was for her photography class. There's only 11 years between me and my aunt that's the youngest. So she's always been around, like more at my grandma's house when we were there. But I'm gonna see if can you see this?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I
Yes,
don't
I can see it very well. I think everybody can.
I didn't know if it would turn up, but so she did
Yeah.
a stop shutter and like traced us. This was back when film. This is
Oh
film.
my gosh.
And she like traced us. Well, she had I think we took turns like doing the sparkler around the other one. And then we just had to hold really, really still while that shutter took forever, because way back
Yeah.
then, especially the cameras, they've come such a long way. So she did that with us. And I think that started my love of photography. And then, of course, I have my own children and I have like those nice boxes. I was going to say shoe boxes, but they're not really those nice boxes that hold photos.
Yes.
And sometimes I like look at those and I have 2 or 3 boxes for like 2008 or 2009 or 2011. So I have thousands of photos. I've always just loved taking photos of my kids. And then fast forward I got sick in 2008 with cancer for the first time. And I think that happened. And then you really realize at some point you have to capture all these memories. Like you just have to. So my husband and I were talking about it. I asked him because knew we were going to talk a little bit during the podcast or
Right.
during your YouTube. Do you call it YouTube or podcast?
I say podcast. I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't
Okay.
matter to me.
During your podcast. So I knew we were going to talk about that a little bit. And I said, I couldn't remember when he did this, but we were saving for a camper. And when I got sick, my husband put his money he'd been saving for a camper in this envelope and put it on my pillow. And he put for a camera fund. And he wrote me the sweetest little note, kind of just, he knows me. He knew I would argue, but just kind of,
Gosh.
yeah, kind of just this money's to go for getting a digital SLR camera because I had a film camera. And he said, don't argue about it with underlining, so, but anyway, and he just said, don't worry about money, just go buy the camera. So that really started my journey of really wanting to document for myself and for others. And then as my friends watched me taking photos of my children, which my aunt instilled, so it kind of just has come a long way. People started asking me like, would you take photos for me? Would you do this photo, that photo? And my love for that photography business just started evolving. And then, you start looking into becoming legal. So that was a lot.
I love that story. First of all, your husband is amazing.
Thank you.
Sending that darling note, giving you a darling note. And then also, I'm very sorry that you've been through cancer. And you said the first time.
Right. Yeah. So I have, and I'm very open about my cancer journey in my business because for me, it really is the backbone of why I want to capture memories and why I think it's so important. And people just don't realize how quickly life can come and go. So for me, it's like a really tender spot, but I have just fought another battle. I've been out, will be 2 years in October, and that would have been my 5th round of like cancer that I did chemo. I have had radiation and surgeries because I have a blood cancer, and so it will travel. But I live with it, and we're just taking it day by day. And I'm excited because 2025, I have no chemotherapy, and I'm doing an immune system booster right now. And I feel great. So I'm super excited.
News. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that with me and then everyone listening. And I think I know that as somebody who, like most of us, runs my own business, it's terrifying to think of coming into a terrible disease or an injury that would stop us from working. And you've had to deal with that several times. So
yeah.
Did you shoot then in the last couple of years?
So sometimes you just take a little back seat and you just take what comes.
Yeah.
I do work. I have always worked for the local school district and had taken a leave of absence from that. And I've always shot photography as well, but just taking a little back seat, and what comes to me comes to me.
Right.
Sometimes I felt like it and sometimes I didn't. I also did a stem cell transplant in 2019, March of 2019. And so when I went through that, there was no photography happening. I was not feeling good. It was rough. But for the most part, like the biggest thing that's taken a back seat was my senior team.
Yeah.
It just took a time. And I actually did have a team with me when I got re-diagnosed. And so I shared with them, that we're going to work a little bit more around my schedule, but I ended up having the best girls and they were the sweetest. I have had the best time with them, and they were so just genuine. They were just genuine girls, and they just loved on me and spoiled me. And I mean, even some of the seniors I photographed that year I first got sick would drop off like coffee cards.
Gosh.
I'm just very blessed. So I've kind of like just had to learn that I'm going to take life as it comes. So for me, as much as I love photography, for a while it was sad for me because I couldn't do exactly what I wanted.
Right.
But when I'm feeling good, I just want to, get out and do all the things.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So you're gonna probably anticipating a pretty busy year then, since you
I'm
don't have,
hoping. Yep,
yeah. Yeah, so you're out there marketing and you've got your team back.
I do. I have been with a business mentor for a couple years, and then I just did it was called Inner Circle with him for a year. And one thing he suggested was start your team early, start advertising in October while they're
Okay.
juniors, and then bring them on the team, by November their junior year, because then you can start working with them and
Yeah.
your time is not so limited.
Mhm.
So I did that, and I have 6 amazing girls. And I just signed on 2 more girls that will be joining us, and I have one more interested, but my cap is going to be 10. So once those last 2 spots fill, 10 is good for this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, things sound like they're really going great for you,
Yeah,
Jamie. I'm glad to hear that.
me too. I'm excited.
Yeah. So what is your favorite gear? What brand do you shoot with? What lenses do you like?
Okay, I have fun stories for everything.
Okay. I
I feel
like
like your
that.
biggest,
Give
I
me
just
all the
talk.
fun.
Good, good. I talk so much.
I love it.
Interesting story. I started out in Nikon,
Yes.
and I loved Nikon, had no qualms about that. That was my first camera. I had a Minolta film camera, then I got the
Yes.
Nikon DSLR. But I reached out to this girl. I think we were talking about it. It's 2016. And I said, "Hey, I love your work. Would you mentor me in wedding photography?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, I don't mentor anyone yet." She says, "I might eventually, but right now I don't." I'm like, "Oh man, I just love your work. It's stunning." And she lives in like Canton, Massillon, kind
Yeah.
of that area. So she's close to me. But long story short, I went and kind of walked around and took photos with her at a wedding and just did it, like followed her around. It wasn't a paid job because she had no idea what I could do and didn't know if she really wanted, a second photographer at that time. But it was kind of just, let's see what happens. But long story short, she loved my work and we got along great. I laugh because I think she's like, I'd have to do the math, like 12 to 14 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's great. Well, she has kids that are my grandkids' age, but it's been a great friendship and we really, really get along and just work well together. But she started me on Canon gear.
Oh,
So she said, "I love your work, but I don't want to edit Nikon and Canon separately
yeah.
because, Nikon shoots more magenta."
Hmm.
So she started me, like she bought my first camera, and like
Wow.
I worked it off. So it was great.
Yeah.
And so now I'm on the Canon, I think I'm on the R6 mirror. I think I always forget there's the R5 and the R6,
Yeah.
but it's the R6 mirrorless and I love it. I've been on that guy, I think November will be 3 years. So
Okay.
going mirrorless, yeah, changed the game big time for me.
Oh,
It
wow.
totally elevated my work.
So what do you love about it?
I love that it has eye tracking, and I am a movement girl. I love movement photos. And I tell the girls, "Hey, we'll pause and pose some, but
Sure.
to kind of get them out of their shell in the beginning, I love movement."
Yeah.
And the camera just like tracks the eye really well. Now, sometimes, if I'm not careful and keep my speed high enough,
Right.
it
Yeah.
can, not be as tack sharp as I like.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's pretty good. Are you on mirrorless as well?
I am.
Okay.
Have to say though, I mean, I still have three Nikon D800s, 850s, which are DSLRs.
Mhm.
I shoot sports with those, and my husband does sports photography. And I just love those. I don't know. I don't want to give them up. It's like I want to buy another one. I love them. And my mirrorless was in the shop, and I shot with the D850 again recently. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this, but yet I love the mirrorless too, And I did
Get
that eye
that.
tracking as a godsend.
Hmm.
I
It
used to
is.
worry because you know how your lenses can get out of calibration a little bit, at
Mhm.
least DSLR ones. I haven't I don't know about mirrorless, but I was always terrified that I wasn't getting that eye in focus, and especially when people are moving. And now, like, I never worry about it.
I feel the same. I do have a Mark III as well,
Yeah.
and that's my backup.
So, Jamie, what about your lens? Do you have a favorite lens?
I do, and I actually want a new one. I actually bumped back to the 2470. While I like that sometimes, it don't have the creamy bokeh quite like
Yeah.
my 85.
No.
So I do love an 85. I'm using my 85 with the oh shoot, now I forget the name of it. The adapter. I do use it
Okay.
with the adapter, but I would like to get the new 85, the Canon 85, but man, $3,000.
I
That's
know.
a chunk of change.
I love lenses, and I
Me
would
too.
buy even more if I didn't also have a life that I needed to use the money for.
I hear you.
Because yes, I want a 50 millimeter 1.2 really bad, but again,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like over 2,000, and I'm thinking, do I really need that? I mean, I
I
have a
know.
50 already, and I'm just a bokeh
Mhm.
addict. Like the more depth of field
Mhm.
there is, the happier I am.
Yeah. I will say it's always like a challenge for me. Sometimes I shoot with a light and sometimes I don't. And when
Oh,
you shoot with a light, you don't get the bokeh
yeah.
like you normally
Okay.
do.
That's right. I
So,
don't ever shoot with lights outside, so I don't think about that.
yeah, sometimes I do, just depending on the situation.
Yeah,
But sometimes I do like that different photos lend to a different feeling. So,
sure. Yes, totally. There's people out there that do OCF for sports type stuff that I just like, oh, this is so good.
uh,
But I don't do it myself. I feel like I don't have to know and do everything.
no, we don't. We don't. We
Yeah.
think we do,
Yes.
but we don't.
Right. It's like you look at other people's work sometimes and you begin to get an inferiority complex.
Yeah, for
And then you're
sure.
like, wait, I have my style. My style is wonderful. Like, it's my
Yeah.
choice to shoot this way. I don't have to know and be a rock star at literally everything. But
That's
sometimes yeah, it's easy to look at other people's work doing something
right.
totally different. And you're just like, oh, Lord, maybe I should learn that.
Well, no, and I tell myself sometimes, stay in your own lane. Like,
Yes.
Jamie, stop it. But
Mhm.
I think that's very normal for all of us to
Yeah.
get stuck. And I really was thinking, I spent a long time not really knowing where I fit in the photography world.
Okay.
And, I feel like sometimes we feel like we doubt, like you said, we doubt ourselves. But I just finally got to the point where I just guess I have a style and I
Yeah.
didn't really recognize it. But I do see a photo sometimes. I'm like, oh, wait, that's yours.
Yeah.
But I do sometimes see photos that friends of mine in the photography world have taken, and I can see that photo and know it's theirs before I
Yeah.
see their name.
Mhm.
So I just think sometimes there for a while, I did want to shoot some sporting stuff with a dramatic lighting.
Yeah.
And while I have done that as well for seniors when
Mhm.
they've asked, I don't feel like I'm great at it, but I can handle it,
Yeah.
but I don't advertise it.
Yeah, and I think that's you hit upon something that's really important. And I always tell people I do some mentoring, but I'm not going to talk much about it other than
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
want to sell stuff. But just it feeds into this. When I tell like people just starting out, usually what I call kids,
Oh, yeah,
like
true.
under 30, um, I'm like, you have to develop a style
Mhm.
because there are so many photographers out there. And if people can't, you don't want people choosing you on price. You don't want to be the cheap one. Oh, we'll just
Right.
go with her because she's cheap. You want people choosing you because of your style, because they mesh with that and they want that for themselves.
Mhm.
Only then do you really begin to develop your brand, and it really helps in bringing clients in.
Yeah.
You can't show that you have a definitive style that you can go to the explore page
Mhm.
on Instagram and know that somebody can see that picture there and know it's
Yeah.
yours, then that's kind of a problem. You talked about that, and yeah, you're right. Like, we don't have to do everything because not everything is our style.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of nice when you think about it.
It actually is.
Yeah.
And, there's been times that I tell people when they're like, will you take my picture of A, B, C, D, E,
Yeah.
F, G, H, I, J, K? I'm like, I actually used to think I always had to say yes. And then I got to a point where I stopped taking families. I started in babies. I didn't even say that. I started with babies.
Yes.
And I was like, this old body cannot handle doing
Oh my
babies.
gosh.
It is so hard. Babies are hard work. Um, but in 2017, I think I niched down to weddings and high school seniors.
Mhm.
And then, fast forward to being sick a few times, my health is not reliable. I can schedule around senior
Yeah.
sessions
Right.
and chemotherapies and whatever if I have to.
Weddings.
Yeah, so I just second shoot now, and I love that. And I say
Yeah.
no to everything else. I think it's great. And I tell what I was going to say in the beginning is I tell people it's like a specialist. I see a specialist. I see a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma doctor. That is all they see is my specific cancer. So I am a specialist. I
Yeah.
specialize in high school senior photography, and I love that. And I see some photographers that do everything, and then they're all over the place, and it's so hard, so much work.
Yeah.
And then sometimes some of us high school seniors, we do a lot of that neat lighting and
Mhm.
different things. But I see some photographers, and I'm like, you are so gifted in that off camera flash sports
Yeah.
photography. Like, I feel like sometimes if they would just stay in that lane and just hammer down on that, yeah. So that's why I just don't. I do it sometimes if a senior
Yeah.
asks me, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, hey, call me for that crazy lit, cool sports photo because it's just not
Yeah.
my thing.
And I just don't want to drag stuff around. I don't want to carry a light stand and a softbox or whatever they have on there, or even just speed lights. Like, I like to move. I'm shooting here,
Mhm.
and then a few seconds later, we're over there, and I don't want to set up and do stuff. And I know there's people who do OCF a lot, like Trisha Burns, Hayden Burns Photography. I just talked to her, and she's trying to get me to do OCF. I know she would, for every negative I have about it, she would have a thing like, no, 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 you don't have to, but no,
Yeah.
don't want to.
It's one of those things that I like to have in my back pocket. So if I want to, like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to do this today or I don't want to. I do have my specific style, but I did have a senior once not long ago, but she wanted photos with her Bible. But she didn't want it to scream, hello, here's my Bible. I'm a
Okay.
Christian. Here
Yeah.
it is. But she
Mhm.
wanted that Bible very discreetly in her senior photo. So I did. I put her at the very end of the night, put her out in a field, and I brought my off camera lighting and I just darkened it way down to where the light was kind of on her. And we tucked the Bible in her hand hanging to her side in the shadowy side. And it was
Oh,
just enough that you saw her Bible. But anyway, so that was kind of cool. And I'm glad I had learned that in my back pocket. I actually traveled to a senior photographer in Toledo, Ohio, to learn off camera lighting from
oh,
her because she's really good at it. Yeah, but I'm like you. Sometimes the wind is blowing and dealing with that light. Sometimes I have an assistant with me, I sometimes don't. And
yeah,
I joke, like, I just bought a backup light bulb. It was $100 for the
yeah,
light bulb.
yeah.
So, there's a lot.
Be free. And I don't have assistant. I rarely work with an assistant. I had a little college girl last year that did some things for me, but it was only, I shoot over 100 seniors a year, and she was
Wow.
with me for maybe 15, which I loved every second of it. But
Hmm.
I have to learn to do things on my own, and I don't want to deal with that.
I know. I hear you. I do like having an assistant if I can,
Yeah.
just for like reflector, because I do love the reflector just for that pop of light in the face and the eyes. But, if you don't have someone with you for the day, it is what it is.
Yeah. And parents often, like, they start out kind of gung ho about holding a reflector, but they kind of lose interest, I think, because they get involved in, oh, the city's so pretty here. I've never been here. And then they're like taking pictures of the
Yes.
architecture, and
Mhm.
it never lasts for me. So,
Right.
well, Jamie,
Right.
let's look at some of your work.
Okay.
Picture number one, I put this in the number one spot because I really love this picture. And
Thank you.
I'm guessing this is at one of your flower farms.
It is. So I'll tell you, this was Aurora. She is a class of 2025 senior. She actually met me at the salon in Worcester and got her hair and makeup done with my girl, Ashley. And we did some city photos there. But Aurora really, really wanted this flower field. And this is called Bloom Hill, and it is in Uniontown, Ohio. So this is about a 50-minute drive. So I always have to schedule hair and makeup a little earlier to be able to get to the certain places. Plus, we were going to pop over to Quail Hollow State Park after this photo. But just like any photo, like trying to figure out lighting and where you want to put somebody. But I absolutely love this. And her mom, they wanted to hold a flower bouquet. So we ordered a flower bouquet ready to be picked up when we got there. So this was already put together for Aurora to hold for her senior photos. And I do a Zoom planning session with my seniors. So we always get on Zoom before their senior session so I can see their outfits. And when Aurora showed me this adorable pink dress, I was like, can we wear that at the flower field, please?
Yeah.
So she had that and then the adorable like white cowgirl boots.
Yeah.
So I just loved the color. I love that old white couch. They actually have it there in the field.
They do. Wow.
Yeah. They rent their spots. So you rent an hour spot. So yeah, getting to rent an hour spot and having to get everything you want in that hour plus change outfits is like kind of have to hammer down.
Right.
And I never go to my flower field first because, you know, we all know we got to give the kids a little bit of time to warm up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful picture. I love
Thanks.
some things that even probably weren't in your control, but like the way the boots match the sofa and all that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was an accident and that was a great accident. So
yeah, well, it's cute, but what people don't understand is, yes, this is a beautiful portrait. And I guess I'm talking, most photographers listening will know this, but I think really for new photographers, they could learn something. What is so difficult, Jamie, and I know you had to put a lot of thought into this, is it's a lot brighter in the background. You've got to find a place in shade often to photograph your subject where the lighting looks nice and flattering, but yet you do have that bright sunny area behind you, and you got to figure out how to position your client so there isn't weird pieces of sunshine on their face and all the things. And you know what looks like, oh, she takes pretty pictures, is there's so much thought and planning that goes into these things.
There is, and Bloom Hill actually changed from the very first year. I actually sent one of her photos as well. This girl, Mia, that I got to photograph a couple years ago. She is the one who was obsessed with flowers initially. And she actually started this like great domino effect in my business that everyone that had started calling me, they were like, I want photos where Mia went, which is Bloom Hill. So for me, I love going to Bloom Hill and I reach out to them a lot and I tag them a lot in their photos. So their field had changed from the previous year to this one. And so when I got there, I was like, you know, sometimes you get to a new place and you're like, oh, they moved their field. This is different. The lighting is different. And then they had this great white couch. And it's funny because I went to move it. I'm not kidding. That sucker probably is 150 pounds. I was like, yeah, this is not moving. So her mom and I finagled, you know, we like finagled this couch and moved it. And like you say, I was like trying to find a spot like where I could position her to see the flowers behind. Yeah. And I also love shooting with things in front. So I loved that I had those flowers in front of her.
You like multi-distances. So you've got like foreground, midground, background. You've got more than that in here.
Yeah, I just love shooting that way. If I can use something in my foreground, so if someone's newer at photography, like in front of like where those red flowers are by her boots, I love that. And then I got, her, and then I have all the flowers that's just kind of my thing. If I can
Yes.
do it, I always will find a way to fit that into a session.
That's part of your style, like we
Yeah,
talked
it is.
earlier. But also, I think it's a higher level of thinking about photography and something that maybe young and experienced photographers don't really think about so much. If I see a young photographer integrating,
Mhm.
foreground, midground, background, or foreground things into the shot, I'm always so impressed.
Yeah, me too.
And because it really does just add so much depth and beauty to the shot.
Yes. I will
So,
say I was very proud of this photo. I actually submitted this one and I'd have to look back, but Aurora did make it into a magazine for this photo as well.
great.
So,
Well, I can see why.
and she's a cutie. She's a little tennis player, so
Yep.
she's just a little thing, and she just kind of let me do my thing. We just really like played, and I did bring my off-camera lighting to use if I needed it, but I
Yeah.
did not for this one.
Yeah. Next, we got the nice little sun flare going. I swear this looks like it could be taken in the park I photograph at all the time, down
Really?
to the yellow flowers in the tree line. It's so funny. So I love the flare from the sun and the movement that you talked about that you like to get in your
Mhm.
pictures. The girl is looking happy and sunshiny and carefree, just like the girls want to look in their senior
Yes.
portraits. So to me, this is a dream picture for the girl. They have this
Yeah.
dream they want. They want to be golden and happy, and it's just this type of image is exactly what the girls are looking for, I think.
They do. I think sometimes they don't want to always just be static
Yeah.
posed, they want some movement. I have a fun story. Sam also, this one almost made the cover of Senior Season magazine. We got the back cover, which is okay. But fun story about this photo. Sam wanted to go to a field that I had never been to. And 99% of the time, if I've not been, I won't go.
Hmm.
Now, if it's something that's really like new to me, I might go. We'll just see.
Hmm.
But anyway, Sam told me we were going to do photos at her softball field. So, timing everything just the way we do, we were on the way to find this field and we're driving. I'm following Sam behind, I'm behind her, and we're driving up and down this very old, like country road. And we go down once and then we go back up and then we go down. And I'm like getting nervous, and I drive by this spot and I see the light coming through the trees. And I'm like, in my brain, I already knew I only had like 15 minutes to hammer out some really quick field photos. So I was getting nervous and I called her. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing? And she's like, I can't find the field. They plowed it down. She goes, I know where it was at and it's just not there. So I'm trying to find something else. I'm like, oh, okay, I got you, girl. I got you. So I said, next time we can both safely turn around. And there was like this little pull off. I said, pull there. So that's what we did. We pulled in. She's kind of looking around, right? It's like, it's in Shreve, which is kind of swampy and marshy and
Oh.
I'm bugs, lots and lots of bugs. I do carry bug spray in my car for this reason. But anyway, so I just told her, I said, I know this isn't exactly what you wanted because you wanted field and now we don't have field. So what I want you to do is I said, we're just going to go across the street. And if you look at the very bottom of the photo, I purposely went ahead and left in some of the
Oh,
road
yeah.
there.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, like she put this photo in her album. I covered the road up, I
Yeah.
cloned it or whatever. But I purposely, for this reason, I wanted to show the road down there. This is beside the road on a backcountry road. There are flowers. The sun was coming through beautifully. I just told Sam, hop over there. We're going to play with your beautiful orange dress and you're going to love it. And this photo, while it was unplanned and it wasn't what she had completely in her head, ended up being one of her favorite photos. And I love it. And there was a little more of a field over to the side of us. So within that 10-minute window that I had, I think we were able to get like 20, 25 photos. And I'm a chronic overshooter. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm terrible about it.
I shoot too much sometimes. Well, here's the deal. I could easily get a shoot done very quickly. I'm a very fast shooter, but the girls want an experience.
Right.
And I'll hear photographers say, you shouldn't spend any more than 5 minutes at a location. It's like, no,
Yeah.
but that's not that experience the girls want. They
Yeah.
want the feeling of that photo shoot. Yes, I can do it in a location in 5 minutes, but do I know? Because I want the girls to feel like this is their moment and I am spending time with them and they are the star of the show and doing something in 5 minutes. So I do overshoot because I want to give them that experience that they want of the photo shoot.
Mhm. I
But
agree.
yeah, I get home then and I'm like, oh my God, I've got all these because I don't want to give them like 200 pictures. I don't do that,
Yeah.
It depends on, the level that they get, but plus nobody needs or wants 200.
I
But
know.
yeah, it is then more of a chore to cull, but at least I feel like I've given the girl the experience that she really wanted.
Yeah, I agree. I love giving an experience as well. We giggled pretty hard about this. I mean, I set my little changing tent up and she changed
Oh,
and we just made it work and there were bugs galore and we were spraying ourselves with bug spray and we got to the softball field and we got exactly what we needed there too. So it
good.
was great. Yeah, we actually ended up with stunning photos from this spot and
Yeah. Just a
sometimes the
random
sun,
little spot on the
yeah,
side of the road.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had a mom just tell me not long ago that she drives through a town now and she'll look at places and be like, Jamie would take photos there.
Gosh, that is great.
Yeah,
It's always
because
great when somebody thinks of you like when you're not
yes.
with them.
Yeah, and as photographers, we look at things in a whole nother way.
Yes, yes, we do. I'll be driving with my husband, and I'm like, oh my God, look at the light over there. And he's like,
Yes.
yeah.
We get it, don't
Yeah,
we?
yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on. So, Jamie, this is one of those portraits that I think is so classic. The pose from from the back. I feel like every person, female, I don't know about men, I don't really put them in this pose, but looks so good from the side view like this. And you can tell like the girls feel pretty in this pose.
Mhm.
It's so classic and beautiful. And I love the way she's holding the flowers. And the green of her dress matches so well with the environment. So tell me about the shoot.
So this is Mia. She's the one who started my um, wave of everyone wanting to go to Bloom Hill. Mia was my very specific senior. I will say I spoke with her and her mom quite a few times. She had an exact vision in her
Oh,
head, and she
okay.
really, really wanted flowers. And I told her, hey, there's this place, Bloom Hill. They do charge per hour. That is, an additional charge to my families. But if you want to go there, we'll go there and we'll do it. So we did. We did her photos at Bloom Hill, and she wore this beautiful green dress for 30 minutes of the session. And the other 30 minutes, she wore like jeans and a white top and pink shoes. And we just used different parts of the flower field. And we did pay to cut some flowers just so Mia could hold the flowers that matched. And the cool thing I will say about Bloom Hill as well is their flowers change. So, like, they'll have tulips early in the year, then they'll move to, like, I think these are zinnias or whatever,
Yes.
however you pronounce those. And then I took a senior to Bloom Hill last, like, late September, October, and they had dahlias. So, yeah, it's great. But Mia chose this adorable green dress.
Yeah.
And I used to think I can't have this green dress in a green
Oh,
field of
okay.
flowers. And then I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Yes, I'm going to break this rule that
Yeah.
I think I need to have in my head. But anyway, we had a great time. Mia's mom and dad came along. We laughed a lot. Dad and mom were helpful. And like I say, I love that again, I have her to where there's flowers in front of her. And we took some also where there weren't flowers
Yeah.
directly like in front as well. But
It's
yeah,
a nice touch too. And she probably thought of this, that her fingernails match some of the flowers.
oh, Mia's my pink girl. She
Okay.
is obsessed with pink, just like
Yeah.
I am. And she actually had a pink dress that matched those nails exactly. But every one of her outfits also complemented her cute
Got it.
nails.
Okay. I think this is OCF. Am I right?
You are right.
Okay. Tell me about the picture.
Okay, so Audrey had her guitar, and we wanted kind of like a really urban vibe, kind of rocker style vibe. So because she's lit from behind, reflector wasn't going to give her quite what I needed in her
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, I didn't like it. I think I tried it, but I definitely set my light up and, dropped it kind of low so it was lit
Yeah.
where it needed to be on her face. But she just kind of wanted a cool, fun vibe with her guitar. So that's what we did. And
It is very fun.
I loved it. But it is off camera flash.
So this is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey, I love the Chipotle cup, but besides that, let's talk about this amazing light, this stunning kid, so natural looking, this cute but casual outfit. And then you managed to work in a Chipotle cup, which I think I would struggle with. I am not good with prop-like things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So fun story. I'll make it short since I know we're running close.
It's fine.
This is Aurora. She was in the first photo with the pink dress. And I had to add this photo because I love taking kids places that everyone wouldn't think about doing. And it feels awkward, especially for a teenager, to go into a restaurant and get photos, right? But I always tell them, I'll make sure everyone's not staring at you. And if they stare, we'll just stare back. So, I'm like, they're just looking at you because you're cute, right? But anyway, we were at the salon and I forget what the conversation was, but my stylist, Ashley, goes, I asked questions while we're at the salon. And I think one of them was like, what's your favorite restaurant? And she said Chipotle. And my hairstylist, Ashley, was like, they just built a new one across the street. You guys should totally go in there and take some photos. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. I'm like, do you want to? And Aurora was like, I'm game. I'm like, we're doing it. So we went in and I went to the counter and I just took my camera in. I have like my camera on a sling thing. And I just said, question. I said, I would like to take a couple photos of her over there, like kind of on the side where there's not a bunch of people. Chipotle is her favorite restaurant. Would it be okay if I take some photos? I said, of course, we'll buy a drink and some chips and salsa. And the kids were all like, all the kids in there, like it's, kids that work there. They were all like, seeing your photos in Chipotle? Oh, yeah, do it.
Hey, another flower picture, so beautiful. I find it hard to work with hands. This is done very well.
Thank you.
But man, some of my girls have huge hands. I have to say. Nobody has small hands anymore. So yeah, this is so hard to do. People don't even understand.
Okay. So Sophia, last year I decided I was starting to feel better and I didn't have any senior reps, and I love having people that I could just grab and do fun things with for photos. So Sophia was my only senior rep last year. She was the only one that applied. It was late June, and by that time everybody knows what they're doing, which is fine. But anyway, so Sophia it was great. We just did whatever we wanted whenever we wanted. But Sophia, she does have nice fingernails always. She always has her nails done perfectly. And she does have nice, long, slender fingers. And I do agree, sometimes hands on the face or hands in general posing can be hard depending on the size of someone's hands, because you don't want to draw attention to things, other than the face as much as you can. I just always tell the girls, nice, soft hands, slightly bending the fingers. But Sophia just did it perfectly. And we might have probably shot this and she might have looked at the photo on the back of my camera and been like, oh, wait, let me tweak. Because I do allow my girls to do that. But Sophia did a great job. And of course, this is Bloom Hill. And we put a couple flowers we found on the ground behind her ear. And I love this photo.
I do too. I think on the hand thing too, lens choice can affect that, because I feel like in the past, if I've shot with like a 35 millimeter, the hands are not as prominent. If I shoot with my baby, which is my 135, the hands just seem to take over everything. So
I was getting ready to say, I'm betting this was my 135 because I think I solely almost shot her whole session with the 135 because she was my only girl. And and this was not an ideal time. I think we were there at like 10:30 in the morning. We had to like do some rescheduling because she had
Yeah,
been sick.
that's rough.
Oh, it was such bright lighting. And I actually think her mama, sweet mama, was holding my 6 foot reflector, shading
Wow.
her in some spots because it was
Okay.
such harsh
Yeah.
sun.
We're almost to the end, and
Yes.
we are first going to announce that Jamie wants everybody to know this is not an alcoholic drink in this girl's hand. Jamie, tell the story. You went to the bartender.
Yes, I did. We went out. This girl modeled for me in Panama City. She was one of my friends that I met at Sync a couple years ago, seniors, and my friend Caroline, lives in Panama. And I was like, I need a model because I didn't realize how beautiful Panama was just when I was there a couple weeks ago. But anyway, so I met, this is Maddie, Caroline's senior, modeled for me, like I said. So we went out by the pool in this adorable yellow dress, and I was like, oh, we need something. Like, we need something to do with your hands. And of course, it was literally like 2 days before, so not a lot of time to think through props. I just figured I'd make it work.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I went into the bartender and I'm like, listen, I want something cute and fruity, frozen, non-alcoholic, because I'm giving it to her to hold for the photo. And the bartender was like, you don't really want a frozen drink. And I'm like, I don't? And he said, no, you'll go outside and the glass will fog up.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, how smart. He goes, I'll make you something beautiful. So he just made pineapple juice, orange juice, and then he just put some cherry grenadine in there. And so it just gave it this beautiful color. And then he put all the beautiful fruit. And it literally was like a coconut orange juice cherry thing. He just made it up.
this is a beautiful shot. So
Thank
nice.
you.
It looks like it could be an editorial ad for this resort or the dress or something.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. So, in the meanwhile of us getting the drink, there was no one in that chair, and it was a little bit of shaded from the palm tree. Like you say, it is hard, and you have to be so strategic with how you're shooting, especially if you don't have equipment or off camera flash.
Yeah.
So, it took some strategic thinking on my part. And of course, we were in a hurry. This girl only had 2 hours with me,
Yeah.
and I was trying to wham bam get through it. In the meanwhile, some other girl came and laid in the chair that I kind of had to stand over to take this photo. So I told her, I'm like, I am so sorry. I'm going to pop her over there. And that girl was like, I'm just going to lay here with my eyes closed. I'm like, okay, good. But I felt bad hovering her. But
Yeah.
anyway, so Maddie it's cute. I just think she looks like this glamorous, like, housewives cover or something.
Yeah. I love that she's sitting upright instead of leaning back.
Yeah, we actually did a couple. We did some leaning
Yeah.
back, and then I told her I felt it looked just a little too lax.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want you to sit up really nice and straight. And I love that she had those heels.
Have nice, strong abs to do that.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
It wouldn't work for this girl, but it worked for Maddie. This girl.
Yes, I know what you mean. Same.
Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful picture. And then we've got the companion one there, which is so cute.
Thanks. I had to edit some people out of the photo, in the pool, but hey.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks.
It's just so much goes into these shots.
It does.
Yeah, like you get there and you're like, oh, I got to think about this. Okay, if the shade's there and the pool is back there, and how do I do this?
Yeah, I had to underexpose quite a
Yeah.
bit to not have such a hot highlight there on her chest
Yeah.
and on the pool water.
Yeah.
And then thank God that Lightroom has updated like it has, because then I can just select her
Yeah.
and bring her exposure up and still watch the highlights.
These are so beautiful. If I were this girl, I would be absolutely thrilled with these pictures.
Yeah, she said her original senior photographer is amazing, and she's a friend of mine from a conference, like I mentioned years ago. But it is fun because Maddie got to model, and I know if you're like me, it is so nice sometimes to not have pressure of being paid, because Maddie just modeled for me because I wanted the content. I could just do what I wanted, and she just did her thing.
It's such a difference for me when I photograph my model team and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I just feel so much more relaxed, and I can just explore different styles and editing. And do whatever I want. And it is a different feeling. So
It is.
okay, we're ending on something super fun. Tell me about the shoot.
Okay, so this is Isabel. Isabel also modeled for me in Panama. I'll tell my story quick because I know we're running out of time. I met Isabel at a store that I was shopping at when I was in town. My friend and I flew in on Saturday and we went in the store on a Sunday. And I was like, she's really adorable. I'm betting she's, if not a junior, if not a senior, like I think she's in high school. And my friend's like, so go ask her. So I met Isabel and I just told her, or Isabella, excuse me. I just said, listen, not trying to be a creeper. Would you happen to be a high school senior? And she's like, actually, I am. So I was like, yes. And I was like, okay, so do you work all week? I said, I'm here with my friend. We're both photographers. I said, I photograph weddings with her, but she's here for a conference and I'm just here working on my business and kind of taking a minute and just doing what I want, kind of thing. And I said, it's stunning here. I've never been to Panama. Would you model for me? And she was like, oh my gosh, she was all excited. And she's like, yeah. I said, I kind of have an idea in mind. I said, I have wanted to photograph a senior at an ice cream shop. And this one was beside the hotel. And Kilwins, you can actually see Kilwins on the cone there. Okay. Is one of my absolute favorite Florida ice cream places. So I asked her and she's like, actually, my mom and I love ice cream and we've talked about opening an ice cream store. I would love to get photos in the ice cream, at Kilwins. So I was like, awesome. So we went in and I just said, hey, I'm going to buy an ice cream cone and take a couple of her senior photos over here. And they let us and it was great. So
it's so cute. How is it lighted?
The lighting in there is junk.
That's what I was asking for.
Mm-hmm. Just like we all would know. Yeah. And it is cute. I messaged Isabella before I sent the photos to you and I asked, like, do you love this one? I love this one. Would you mind if this one's kind of put out there for everybody to see? It's one of my favorites. She was like, no, I love it. It's fine. But she said the lighting is so good. I'm like, girl, you have no idea what I had to do. I would have shot this. I only took my 24-70 with me as I didn't plan on taking photos while I was at this conference. I just planned on taking maybe some branding photos. Like my friend was going to take some of me. So I just had my camera for that. And then I ended up doing 2 sessions. But anyway, isn't that the way we work? Yeah. Creatives. Yeah. I had to separate the background, and I had to take up towards the top right, there was a security camera I had to take out and a lot of crazy lighting, but I had to separate the background and kind of bring down the yellows and the oranges and just so it wasn't so loud. And plus it had can lighting. So, I had to be kind of careful with how her face was tilted.
I'm very impressed. I hate photographing portraits inside a building like this.
Same.
So the skin tones never look right to me. Now these look great to me.
Thanks. So I did, and I did finish this one in a Voto. So if you don't use a Voto, oh yeah, a Voto was my lifesaver because it'll help match those skin tones. But I did do a lot of selective editing in Lightroom where I selected just the face or just the body skin to make it match better because we had more orange on the face from that can lighting. Plus over here, I was looking at her, but the direction she's facing, there were windows about 8 to 10 feet away.
Wow. Okay.
So we had some natural light coming in there, but we still were fighting with a lot of the can lighting.
Well, that looks great. So Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really had fun talking with you and learning that we have a lot of similar sensibilities. And, but of course, we'll say that just because Jamie and I do something a certain way doesn't mean you have to.
That's right.
It's nice to find kindred spirits in the photography world, and hope to see you at a conference sometime soon.
Oh, yes. We have to plan to meet up again.
Yes, let's do. Okay, well, I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.